end of 1944, it housed 60 barracks measuring 17.5 m 8 m, 57 feet 26 feet, each with a day room and a sleeping room containing 56 treated wooden bunks. 75. IG Farben paid the SS 3 or 4 Reichsmark for 9 to 11-hour shifts from each worker. 76. In 1943-1944, about 35,000 inmates worked at the plant. 23,032 a day on average were killed through malnutrition, disease, and the workload. Within 3 to 4 months at the camp, Peter Hayes writes, the inmates were reduced to walking skeletons. 77. Deaths and transfers to the gas chambers at Auschwitz too reduced the population by nearly a fifth each month. 78. Site managers constantly threatened inmates with gas chambers, and the smell from the crematoria at Auschwitz too hung heavy over the camp. 79. Although the factory had been expected to begin production in 1943, shortages of labor and raw materials meant startup was postponed repeatedly. 80. The Allies bombed the plant in 1944 on the 20th of August, 13 September, the 18th of December, and the 26th of December. On the 19th of January, 1945, the SS ordered that the site be evacuated, sending 9,000 inmates, most of them Jews, on a death march to another Auschwitz subcamp at Blewis. 81. From Blewis, prisoners were taken by rail in open freight wagons to the Buchenwald and Mauthausen concentration camps. The 800 inmates who had been left behind in the Monowitz hospital were liberated along with the rest of the camp on the 27th of January, 1945 by the 1st Ukrainian Front of the Red Army. 82. Subcamps. Several other German industrial enterprises, such as Krupp and Siemens Skakut, built factories with their own subcamps. 83. There were around 28 camps near industrial plants, each camp holding hundreds or thousands of prisoners. 84. Designated as Außenlager, external camp, Nebenlager, extension camp, Arbeitslager, labor camp, or Außenkommando, external work detail. 85. Camps were built at Blickhammer, Choisois, Chewano, Nagis, Mislois, Tutebinaya, and as far afield as the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia in Czechoslovakia. 86. Industries with satellite camps included coal mines, foundries and other metal works, and chemical plants. Prisoners were also made to work in forestry and farming. 87. For example, Wirtschaftshof Budy, in the Polish village of Budy near Rzeszów, was a farming subcamp where prisoners worked 12-hour days in the fields, tending animals, and making compost by mixing human ashes from the crematoria with sod and manure. 88. Incidents of sabotage to decrease production took place in several subcamps, including Charlottengrund, Gleiwitz II, and Rajsko. 89. Living conditions in some of the camps were so poor that they were regarded as punishment subcamps. 90. Life in the camps. SS Garrison. Rudolf Höss, born in Baden-Baden in 1992, was named the first commandant of Auschwitz when Heinrich Himmler ordered on the 27th of April, 1940 that the camp be established. 93. Living with his wife and children in a two-story stucco house near the Commandant's and Administration building. 94. He served as commandant until the 11th of November 1943. 93. With Joseph Kramer as his deputy. 24. Succeeded as commandant by Arthur Liebehenschel. 93. Höss joined the SS Business and Administration head office in Oranienburg as director of AMTDI. 93. A post that made him deputy of the camp's inspectorate. 95. Richard Barre became commandant of Auschwitz I on the 11th of May, 1944, and Fritz Hartjenstein of Auschwitz I from the 22nd of November, 1943, followed by Joseph Kramer from the 15th of May, 1944 until the camp's liquidation in January 1945. Heinrich Schwartz was commandant of Auschwitz III from the point at which it became an autonomous camp in November 1943 until its liquidation. 96. Hosts returned to Auschwitz between 8 May and the 29th of July 1944 as the local SS garrison commander, Standortaltester, to oversee the arrival of Hungary's Jews, which made him the superior officer of all the commandants of the Auschwitz camps. 93. According to Alexander Lazuk, about 6,335 people, 6,161 of them men, worked for the SS at Auschwitz over the course of the camp's existence. Winking Sad Smiley 97, 4.2% were officers, 26.1% non-commissioned officers, and 69.7% rank and file. 98. In March 1941, there were 700 SS guards. In June 1942, 2000, and in August 1944, 3,342. At its peak in January 1945, 4,480 SS men and 71 SS women worked in Auschwitz. The higher number is probably attributable to the logistics of evacuating the camp. 99. Female guards were known as SS supervisors, SS Aufseherinnen. 100. From the Hocker album, Left to Right. Richard Barre, Auschwitz commandant from May 1944, Joseph Mengele, camp physician, and Rudolf Höss, first commandant, in Salahat, an SS resort near Auschwitz, summer 1944. 91. The Commandant's and Administration Building, Auschwitz I. Most of the staff were from Germany or Austria, but as the war progressed, increasing numbers of Volksdeutsche from other countries, including Czechoslovakia, Poland, Yugoslavia, and the Baltic states, joined the SS at Auschwitz. Not all were ethnically German. Guards were also recruited from Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. 101. Camp guards, around 3/4 of the SS personnel, were members of the SS Totenkopfverbände, Death Shield units. 102. Other SS staff worked in the medical or political departments, or in the economic administration, which was responsible for clothing and other supplies, including the property of dead prisoners. 103. The SS viewed Auschwitz as a comfortable posting, being there meant they had avoided the front and hard SS to the victim's property. 104. Functionaries and Sonderkommando. Auschwitz I. 2009. Certain prisoners, at first non-Jewish Germans but later Jews and non-Jewish Poles, 105, were assigned positions of authority as Funktionsschafflinge, functionaries, which gave them access to better housing and food. The Lager Prominence, Camp Elite, included Blockschreiber, Barracks Clerk, Capo, Overseer, Stubendienst, Barracks Orderly, and Commandiert, Trustees. 106. Wielding tremendous power over other prisoners, the functionaries developed a reputation as sadists. 105. Very few were prosecuted after the war, because of the difficulty of determining which atrocities had been performed by order of the SS. 107. Although the SS oversaw the murders at each gas chamber, forced labor portion of the work was done by prisoners known from 1942 as the Sonderkommando, Special Squad. 108. These were mostly Jews, but they included groups such as Soviet POWs. In 1940-1941, when there was one gas chamber, there were 20 such prisoners, In late 1943 there were 400, and by 1944 during the Holocaust in Hungary the number had risen to 874.109. The Sonderkommando removed goods and corpses from the incoming rains, guided victims to the dressing rooms and gas chambers, removed their bodies afterwards, and took their jewelry, hair, dental work, and any precious metals from their teeth, all of which was sent to Germany. Once the bodies were stripped of anything valuable, the Sonderkommando burned them in the crematoria. 110. Because they were witnesses to the mass murder, the Sonderkommando lived separately from the other prisoners, although this rule was not applied to the non-Jews among them. 111. Their quality of life was further improved by their access to the property of new arrivals, which they traded within the camp, including with the SS. 112. Nevertheless, their life expectancy was short. They were regularly murdered and replaced. 113. About 100 survived to the camp's liquidation. They were forced on a death march and the train to the camp at Mauthausen, where 3 days later they were asked to step forward during roll call. No one did, and because the SS did not have their records, several of them survived. 114. Tattoos and triangles. Auschwitz clothing. Uniquely at Auschwitz, prisoners were tattooed with a serial number on their left breast for Soviet prisoners of war, 115, and on the left arm for civilians. 116, 117. Categories of prisoner were distinguishable by triangular pieces of cloth, German, Winkel, sewn into on their jackets below their prisoner number. Political prisoners, Schutzhäftlinge or SCH, mostly Poles, had a red triangle, while the criminals, Berufsverbrecher or BV, were mostly German and wore a green. Asocial prisoners, Asocial or ASO, which included vagrants, prostitutes and the Roma, wore black. Purple was for Jehovah's Witnesses, International Bibelfische Vereinigung or IBV, and pink for gay men, who were mostly German. 118. An estimated 15,000 gay men prosecuted under German Penal Code Section 175, prescribing sexual acts between men, were detained in concentration camps, of whom an unknown number were sent to Auschwitz. 119. Jews wore a yellow badge, the shape of the Star of David, overlaid by a second triangle if they also belonged to a second category. The nationality of the inmate was indicated by a letter stitched on top cloth. A racial hierarchy existed, with German prisoners at the top. Next were non-Jewish prisoners from other countries. Jewish prisoners were at the bottom. 120. Transports. Freight car inside Auschwitz to Birkenau, near the gatehouse, used to transport deportees. 2014, 121. Deportees were brought to Auschwitz crammed in wretched conditions into goods or cattle wagons, arriving near a railway station or at one of several dedicated trackside ramps, including one next to Auschwitz I. The Altgewden ramp, Old Jewish ramp, part of Oswiecim Freight Railway Station, was used from 1942 to 1944 for Jewish transports. 121, 122, located between Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II. Arriving at this ramp meant a 2.5 kilometers journey to Auschwitz II and the gas chambers. Most deportees were forced toic, accompanied by SS men, and a car with a Red Cross symbol carried the Zyklon B, as well as an SS doctor in case officers were poisoned by mistake. Inmates arriving at night, or who were too weak to walk, were taken by truck. 123. Work on a new railway line and ramp, right, between sectors BI and BII in Auschwitz II, was completed in May 1944 for the arrival of Hungarian Jews. 122. Between May and early July 1944. 124. The rails led directly to the area around the gas chambers. 121. Life for the inmates. The day began at 4:30 a.m. for the men, an hour later in winter, and earlier for the women, when the block supervisor sounded a gong and started beating inmates with sticks to make them wash and use the latrines quickly. 125. There were few latrines and there was a lack of clean water. Each wash house had to service thousands of prisoners. In sectors BIA and BIB in Auschwitz II, 2 buildings containing latrines and washrooms were installed in 1943. These contained troughs for washing and 90 faucets. The toilet facilities